Hi guys, it's been terrible weather this week in the UK, so I've just been at home today luckily watching TV, and lately I've been into some of these documentaries about extreme survival situations where there's been accidents or people have got lost in the wilderness, that kind of thing, and some of them are really good. But it never ceases to amaze me, some of the things people think of doing in these extreme situations.
Ken Hildebrand is severely injured. His legs crushed by his quad bike. To make matters worse, coyotes are closing in. He's not eaten for 20 hours, and his body is weakening with every minute in these severe conditions.
I knew I needed something for strength. I decided I was going to try and eat some beaver.
How can you think about that at a time like this? Hello guys, so I was thinking about a clickbaity title for the video, and I thought let's do a video about which is, in my collection, the fragrance house with the best performance overall. And in all honesty, for me the answer has to be Dua fragrances. So Dua fragrances, of course, been going quite a while, I think since 2016, and they are renowned for their strength. I think there's a hashtag Dua power or something like that. Very, very strong fragrances which last really well, project really well, and you know, compared to the designer stuff I've got, niche houses, most houses have a range of things, some perform a bit better than others, but in all honesty, everything that Dua have sent me, and they do send me a lot of fragrances free, please bear that in mind, they are strong performers. Many of them are beast mode, and at the very worst, they're really good. They've got two kinds of things going on now. There's the main Dua fragrances brand, and then this new thing, a spin-off called Encounter Scents by Dua, which is kind of a designer fragrance style range. More about that coming up. So let's get stuck into it. What I'm going to do is give you a run through of some examples of their really good performing fragrances. There's something for everybody here, because the Encounter Scents range, I think, is probably aimed at younger people, designer style fragrances. The clones that they do, or inspired expressions of mainstream niche fragrances, are really popular. The hybrids they do are another big thing for them, where they mix maybe two or even more niche fragrances that are really popular and give you a hybrid, so it's kind of a unique thing in a way. And if you are into the old stuff, the vintage stuff, stay tuned, don't switch off yet, because they do superb resurrections, a resurrection series where they bring back to life fragrances which no one can buy anymore, or you're only going to find them on eBay for maybe ridiculously inflated prices, and the juice might have gone off. Dua brings some of these back to life, and I love that. I'm going to flip to the old POV style and run you through a quick fire session of some of my favourites of their really strong performing fragrances. Here we go. Okay, so let's talk about the Encounter Scents range first. So this is a spin-off range done by the same people who do Dua fragrances, and they're very much in the designer fragrance style. There's 5 fragrances for men and there are 5 for women. I hope to talk about the women's ones at some point soon, but as my channel is something of a sausage party, I guess we'll focus on the ones aimed at men. So there are 5 different ones. I picked 3 that I wanted to mention today. The price for these, $84.99. Dua very often have a discount code running, and at the moment that you can see that on their website, which is for 15% off, which would take that down to $72, roughly equivalent at the moment to £56 if you're in the UK. 100ml extract de parfum. I think the company does have worldwide shipping. So these 3 here are kind of interesting. The names, yes, they're a little bit cheesy. In the club for him, compliment for him, romantic for him. I guess the idea is it's sort of going to do exactly what it says on the tin. But however, you know, what's the difference between a scent which might get you compliments and one which might be good in the club? Surely you'd want compliments in the club. Never mind that. I think that the idea is simply to make things easy to understand and maybe compartmentalize for the average punter out there, and that's not a bad thing. So, in the club for him, probably the least likely one that Mr. Smelly is going to like, because I have not been in a club, possibly during this century, I can't remember. In the club for him. All right, this one is very much a banging, powerful scent. Of course, the theme of the video is the most performing house that I've got in my collection, and here this one really delivers. Very, very potent. The note listing for this one: pear, lavender, mint, blood mandarin, cinnamon, clary sage, tobacco, myrrh, patchouli, tonka bean, vanilla, amber and white musk. The pear note will make many people think of the infamous Jean-Paul Gaultier's Ultramal. It has a little bit of that vibe. It's very complex actually. It's sweet. It has got this kind of nice tobacco twist mixed in with lavender, hints of Jean-Paul Gaultier Le Mal, maybe hints of Versace Eros. You might find some things that are reminiscent of 1 million, but actually it's sort of more than the sum of all those parts because it's extremely potent. It's very, very likeable. For a younger guy, I think this would be a real compliment getter, but it could really work well for people right up into their 30s, 40s, even beyond, as a real crowd-pleasing fragrance. Quite sweet and the kind of thing ladies often like, but it doesn't smell cocky or juvenile. It doesn't smell like a sort of cheapo mass market style thing. Sometimes I don't really love things from the 1 million range and that kind of thing. I like it a lot better than those, and it does have a bit of that oomph about it. So I kind of like that one. It's not my style, but it would be a guilty pleasure for me, and it's pretty much beast mode in performance. Compliment for him actually is a really nice citrus aromatic fragrance, and I'm a very big fan of that kind of fragrance. In fact, I would probably call it a citrus aquatic fragrance. So the note listing for compliment for him, we've got aquatic notes: grapefruit, pear, bergamot, apple, juniper berries, ginger, olibanum, amberwood and white musk. So if you like things like, let me think, maybe a little bit of Invictus Aqua, maybe a little bit of Acqua di Gio or Acqua di Gio Profumo. If you like sea spray type notes, maybe hints of even Creed Zerolfa in here. This is the kind of thing I really like. I actually do, apart from banging on about a lot of old fragrances, I like citrus aquatic type fragrances which have that really, really crowd pleasing vibe about them. Maybe things like Chanel's Allure Homme Sport, that kind of thing, Versace L'Homme. Take some of the best elements of all of those, put them in a fragrance and amp up the performance. And this is just a really great fragrance to me for the office, for everyday wear, for summer holidays. Clean, fresh, vibrant and optimistic. Next up then, romantic for him. Let's find out about this one. The note listing for this one includes bergamot, coriander, cardamom, orange, jasmine, rose, tagette, magnolia, saffron, cedarwood, oak moss, toffee and white musk. For me, this is a beautiful combination of really, really nice fresh citrus notes. The orange and the bergamot, it's almost like there's more citrus notes than that in there. Very nice fresh opening mixed with Baccarat Rouge 540-esque accords in there. There's something of a sweetness about this one, something almost of a hint of that minty candy floss type of thing that you get with Baccarat Rouge 540, mixed with beautiful citrus. So it's kind of a compliment bomb, but it's actually, there's a fragrance called Compliment for him. This one's called Romantic for him. It would be a really, really great bet if you just wanted to go out and be popular on a date, that kind of thing. Beast mode performance goes on for absolutely ages, that one. And yeah, again, another guilty pleasure for me. I don't, as an old fogey who likes the classic art of perfumery, to pick up a bottle called Romantic for him, it doesn't come easily to me, but I have to admit these give you really good performance and they're likely to be popular. Let's move on to the core Dua fragrances range of stuff then. So there are a couple of different types of thing that the company do. They do have some unique original creations within the Dua brand, as well as these new encounter scents. So here's an example that I think they've recently brought back due to popular demand. Flagship from Dua is a beautiful, unique creation, an original, a citrus aromatic fragrance, which has beautiful fresh citrus accords, really nice aromatics and herbal tones. People who like some of the old school classics, things like Armani's Eau pour Homme or maybe some of the Acqua di Parma fragrances, might well like this one. I find that just a really, really beautiful citrus, fresh and then aromatic, slightly spicy and herbal fragrance. Even maybe hints of Xerjoff's Neo in that one for me. Really amazing performance. And if you're looking for a great freshie, no one else is going to smell quite like this. Like the plaque on that one, this is how your 30ml Dua bottles look, and that's Flagship, a really high quality one for me. By the way, the price typically on these 30mls, they vary a little bit, but somewhere around about, say, $55, which translates to, if you add the 15% off, that would come down to $47, equivalent to approximately £36 in the UK, and that's for a 30ml extract de parfum, so decent value, I think. But you've got to admit they're not cheap, so there are drawbacks on this brand because it's per mil. They're certainly not cheapies like MAF or people like that, but I have to say the quality much better and the performance also much better. Okay, so we've talked about original fragrances. Here's something else that Dua do that's really amazing and fun to me. This one is called Pour Homme, and it's actually their resurrection. It's part of their resurrection series, and they resurrect or recreate discontinued fragrances which are now really hard to find. Love what they've done with the design on this one. Might give you a clue of what the fragrance is based on. So this is their reinvigoration, their resurrection of By Man from Dolce & Gabbana. My bottle's currently on loan to Claire from the Smurfy Girly channel, who's been checking that one out. I want that back soon. So this was a fabulous fragrance from 1997, now highly sought after, discontinued fragrance, kind of a barbershop fragrance. I would call it a neo-fougere or neo-barbershop fragrance. Bit similar in some ways to Jean Paul Gaultier's Le Mal, lovely lavender in this one. It's got nutmeg. It's got a little bit of citrus notes. It's very powdery, and it's got a real beautiful powdery spicy combination, warming tones, lovely sandalwood note in this one. And I've got the original fragrance. You pay hundreds of pounds for that one if you can find it on eBay, and this is so hard to differentiate. It's incredible, and it's stronger. It's an extract de parfum. If you're desperate to try it, tempted to go and spend $300-400 online, don't bother. Get Pour Homme from Dua, save yourself a lot of money. And it's so strong, it's brilliant. You won't notice any difference in the smell. You've never smelled By Man and you'd like to. If you get this, you'll know how that smells, and you'll probably actually be smelling a bit stronger for longer. So highly recommended that one, Pour Homme. A couple of other quick examples in that genre of the Resurrection series. River Fougere is a resurrection of, can you guess, guys? It's Rive Gauche Pour Homme from YSL, which thankfully I do still have my bottle of the original fragrance there. So the famous hairspray type bottle from YSL, that one discontinued, very, very hard to find now because even the reissue in the square bottle has been discontinued. Fantastic shaving foam smell, superb stuff, and this stronger, lasts longer a little bit than the rather good actually performing YSL Pour Homme. That's good performing. This is kind of beast mode, and actually the smell, again, I really can't identify a noticeable difference. So let's see what we've got next. Have we got any more resurrections? One more, actually, Midnight Rendezvous. Okay, so if you are a fan, as many people in the Fragcom are, of the vintage formula of YSL's famous La Nuit de l'Homme, then this one recreates that. It's a beautiful fragrance with cardamom and lavender and bergamot. Beautiful kind of modern, sexy, little bit dark, a little bit sweet, balanced fragrance, just something magical. Someone called it a bit like Coca-Cola, and I see what they mean. It's a magical fragrance, YSL La Nuit de l'Homme, but the problem is the longevity leaves rather a lot to be desired. Midnight Rendezvous gives us extract de parfum performance, great longevity. I can't tell an awful lot of difference, again, in the smell. Mine's actually a 2015 bottle of the original fragrance, so it's not the proper vintage, but it's very, very pleasant. It's not my total favourite type of thing, but if you are a fan of YSL's La Nuit de l'Homme, Midnight Rendezvous could well solve your issues with the modern version's performance weakness. Next up then, I wanted to talk about kind of the core of what they do, which is normal, let's call them clones, or inspired expressions, as Dua like to call them, of well-known niche fragrances. So the first one that's really good, Casino Royale. If you like Baccarat Rouge 540 from Maison Francis Kurkdjian, this smells very, very similar, hard to tell them apart. And again, it's extract de parfum. This is their copy of the eau de parfum version. There is an extract version as well that they've done a recreation of called Casino Royale Nights. But if you want the smell of the original EDP, but concentrated more highly, this will fit the bill. Superb performance, compliments galore, because everyone out there loves this. Very unisex fragrance, powdery but minty, this kind of candy floss vibe. I mean, it's not the total me kind of thing, but it's actually one I've many times said I do really respect that original fragrance. The reason I don't own it is basically because I've got Casino Royale, and the performance, of course, a major plus point on that one. I should mention, actually, I'm just going to do one of these, the hybrids. Caribbean Supernova here, for example. Okay, so this one is a combination of the notes of Virgin Island water and Roger Parfums Elysium. So you've got the incredible fresh zestiness of Elysium, that sharp kind of bergamot note, and the very crowd-pleasing nature of that famous niche release, sometimes compared to Aventus, and it mixes it with the lovely lime and coconut of Virgin Island water. Superb. And again, these are unique. There's tons of the hybrids. Check those out. You can find that. I think there's probably a special section for them on Dua's website. They have, again, great performance. They're somewhat unique. The one where they've combined Virgin Island water with Aventus, which is called Poseidon in the Caribbean, is probably my absolute favourite. Recommended, guys. Now then, back to some of the more standard ones where it's just a clone of a famous niche fragrance. Best citrus ever. I've got 2 bottles of this one. I've nearly used all of this one up. Fantastic clone or inspired expression of Henry Jacques Iroir, a superb citrus aromatic fragrance, incredibly expensive. This is where Dua do something really good for all of us. They do clone some things like Creed, which maybe some of us can afford if we really want them, but there's stuff out there that is much more expensive than Creed, and this gives the ordinary person, of whom I am one, the chance to smell like things like Henry Jacques. And this is a superb recreation of a Henry Jacques masterpiece, Iroir. Superb bergamot, spices, just a lovely classic citrus aromatic vibe. If you like things like Chanel's Pour Monsieur, this is like that, but done on a much higher budget, and it lasts for absolutely ever, which is incredible to me for a citrusy fragrance. It's kind of a summer holiday staple for me, or anytime I just want a mood lift and I want it to last long. Best Citrus Ever by Dua. One of the absolute classics for me that I absolutely love. Queen of Spades. This is their take on Pico Valderrama from Xerjoff. Fantastic aldehydic old school classic. Again, the original on that one actually is pretty strong, and this again, beast mode, much cheaper than that very expensive Xerjoff fragrance, and I'm really happy to have my equivalent of the Xerjoff thing, which I can't really afford or justify, in that I've got Queen of Spades here. Of course, all these fragrances were very generously given to me, free of charge by Dua. Please do bear that in mind. I will give you some negatives on the brand and their fragrances as well. I'll try to be objective, but yeah, I'm very fortunate to have all these sent to me free, because they would like me to review them and share them with you. I hope you will find that fun too. Bianca Pura. This one is Pure White Cologne from Creed. Superb one from the more expensive end of the Creed range. Beautiful, fresh musks. There's a funny note of rice in that one, which I don't know how rice is supposed to smell, but it's got this kind of papery, crisp, wearing a white shirt by the Mediterranean kind of vibe. Beautiful fragrance. The original one, okay in performance. This one, so hard after the first few minutes to tell apart, and the performance amped up to the max. Bianca Pura, Pure White Cologne on steroids. A bit of a cliche to use that on steroids term, but it's kind of true. Imperial Pastique, one of the old ones, is how their bottles used to look. They've upped their presentation a bit. That is Millésime Imperial by Creed to the max. Beautiful salty watermelon sea air type of vibes. Again, it smells so similar to the original. It's craziness, but it's going to last longer. Xerjoff's Naxos, one of my absolute favourite tobacco fragrances. Do a version of this one called Fortune, and there are some subtle differences when you first spray, but over time you'll be hard pressed to find a difference. In this case, I have to say Naxos already kind of beast mode, or very strong performance for me. Dua's at least equivalent. It will be concentrated more strongly. So negatives on the Dua stuff. Let's talk about some negatives, because otherwise people might think, well, it's a bit tiresome. Mr. Smelly's just plugging this brand. I don't want to hear about that. So let's talk about some of the negatives. The negatives, obviously the packaging here is quite nice, but nowhere near as fancy as a proper niche fragrance when you spend all that money. So you look at the Xerjoff one, and the Creeds, the Duas, they're not quite as fancy, so you don't get that. Of course, many of us who are into fragrances and watch channels like mine are heavily into the art of fragrances. We'll do, of course, a lot of what they do, even the Encounter range, they are original releases, but they are kind of taking the best of well-known, well-trodden paths in the world of designer perfumery, and in the case of these, a lot of times in niche perfumery, and giving us their own version. And there's a lot of copying involved in what they do. So if you love originality in art, they could be a brand that you don't favour. Also, although the fragrances are very close to those that they imitate, where they are imitations, they're never 100%, because nothing in life is. There may be some captive ingredients that the original brand has that Dua just can't get hold of, and particularly maybe in the first opening minutes when you spray some of these fragrances, you can feel that, well, no, it's not quite the magic of the real thing that I used to have, or that I've had a sample of. To be honest with you, most of them, for me, after a few minutes, I find that the differences tend to subside, and the dry downs, or even the sort of mid-stage and on to the end of the fragrance, they're very, very, very hard to tell apart. But if you want the real thing, there is, of course, only one way to get it. And if you like, if you want a Rolex watch, you have to go and buy a Rolex watch. You can't just buy an homage watch which has a different brand name on it. It won't make you feel quite the same. So those are the downsides on Dua. And of course, there are also other really cheap alternatives to Aventus. You could get Club de Nuit Intense Man, and there you've saved a ton of money. However, to me, it doesn't smell as close to the Aventus original as the Dua version does. Guys, let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Many thanks for joining me. Remember, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. See you in the next video. Bye bye.